public school or a private school? No dress code or a dress code with a uniform? A free education or a yearly tuition? These are just a few questions all parents have to ask themselves one day or another. According to the article in August of 2005, named School Debate, Public versus Private, Will Your Child Thrive More in One Setting Than Another?, Victoria Clayton states that a public school student does outperform a private school student. Problems today are people are always stereotyping public school systems, but if it's researched more, they would learn that public schools are an all-around better option for children. 3 points that I'm going to talk about today are problems with enrolling children into a private school, solutions to these problems, and lastly, positive consequences of enrolling children into public schools. By the end of this presentation, you will see that a public school setting is the right decision for the quality education of children. Public schools offer so many more options than private schools, and with a free education and accredited teachers, parents cannot go wrong when enrolling children into a public school. So first I'm going to start off and tell you the first major problem of enrolling children into a private school. The first major problem is the stereotypical comments of how private schools give children a better education than public schools do. In private schools, teachers may or may not require credentials, and also they set their own teacher qualifications, which does not always guarantee the best teachers teaching. Also, private schools require a tuition fee that is thought to give a better education. According to the article in 2012, named Public Schools versus Private Schools, it states that tuition at a private school could range anywhere from $4,000 all the way up to $100,000 per year. Now, the second major problem with private schooling is that they require a uniform dress code. According to the article in 2012, named Cons of School Uniforms in Public Schools, it states that children express themselves through their wardrobe, and if they are forced to dress exactly like their peers, their self-expression is purposely hidden. Some say that wearing a uniform every day will cut down on the crime, but that's just not the case, unfortunately, because crimes and gangs are always apparent no matter where a person lives. If a child is made to wear a uniform every day, it may hide the children's problems, and a teacher may not be able to see them or get help for them in their time of need. Now that I've told you the major problems with enrolling children into a private school, next I'm going to tell you some solutions to these problems. The first solution is to look thoroughly at the public schools and their free education and also credentials for hiring teachers. According to the Broward County Public School article from 2010 named Public versus Private Education, it said that the right of a free education is guaranteed by the state constitution. Children receive better education in public schools because they hire teachers who meet certain requirements, makes them very qualified for what they are trained to do. On April 27, 2012, Dr. Vern Fisher, superintendent of the South Sioux City School District, stated that, quote, teachers are the #1 influence on student achievement, end quote. Now, the second solution would be to look at the statistics and see that public school test scores are exactly the same as private school test scores. According to the article, Public Schools versus Private Schools, a new study says there's no difference, dated June 13, 2011. Many people assume that private schools deliver a better education, but that is just not the case. In 2007, a study by the Center of Education Policy showed that there's no effective difference in a public or a private education. Also, it showed that scores on reading, math, science, and history, they were all the same as a private school scores. And lastly, it showed students were equally likely to attend college whether they graduated from a public or a private institution. Now that I've told you some solutions, next I will list some positive consequences of enrolling them into a public school setting. The first major positive consequence would be the feeling of knowing that children are being taught by the best teachers available. In terms of teacher training, public schools require teachers to complete an accredited state credential program. They must be licensed, and they must keep licenses current by continuing education throughout their entire career. On April 27, 2012, once again, Dr. Vern Fisher, superintendent of the South Sioux City School District, stated that, quote, success is attributed to the quality of classroom teacher, end quote. An example of a positive consequence would be a friend of mine enrolled her daughter into kindergarten at a private institution, and after being there for 2 years, she noticed that her child was not excelling, and so at that point she put her into a public school. When she got into the public school here in our community, they did some testing and they realized that she was 4 reading levels behind where she should be at this time. And so when the mother contacted the principal of the private institution, they were very unaware that she should be at that level. After working with her all year long, she is now where she needs to be. The sad thing is, though, that private schools don't know that students are so far behind. Now, another positive consequence There's a better chance of children succeeding in life because they are getting a quality education. Once again, it goes back to the teachers having training and schooling to be the most knowledgeable, high-quality trained teachers available. Now, in conclusion, I would like to reiterate that it's obvious children will succeed if they are enrolled in a public school because it's an all-around better option for them. Parents have a huge responsibility on where to send children to school. It's obvious that the right education is at a public school where accredited, state-certified teachers are employed. According to Superintendent Dr. Vern Fisher, South Sioux City School District, he states that, quote, public schools, they give a quality education that ensures children are equipped with skills that they will need to compete in life after high school, end quote. Please do what is right for all children and enroll them in a public school where they will succeed because they are given the best education that is available. Thank you.